If we're able to find life on Mars, it would tell us that, in our solar system, which is which is extremely small compared to the universe, two planets so close to one another had life at some point. Obviously we have life on Earth now, and potentially there was life on Mars at some point. It would just really put into perspective the amount of life that may be out there. Hi, Ned. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing great. I know you've been telling me about how interested you are in the Perseverance mission, so I figured I'd just do a quick walkthrough of the device that we sent to Mars. Before we do anything about the actual walkthrough, I just want to let you know what the goal of the mission was. And really, it was just to search for ancient life, gather rocks and soil in order to explore the past habitability of Mars. And it's also going to test some technologies to pave the way for future human exploration on Mars.
Yep, that's the goal.
And it actually left Earth on July 30th, 2020, and it landed on February 18th, 2021.
Wait, 7 months?
Yeah, it took 7 months.
Why not faster?
Well, I don't know if you know this, but Mars is really, really far away. It's actually 215 million kilometers away. So if you were to get in your car right now and drive on the highway to Mars at 100 kilometers per hour, it would take you 2 million hours. I don't know how many days that is, but that's a long time.
Pretty sure driving from St. John's, I'll be by the ocean by then.
Probably.
Yeah, and you mentioned ancient life. So how is life defined for Mars?
So what they actually think is they're not looking for current life because they're pretty sure that there's no active life right now on Mars. But what they're looking for is traces of life that may have been there maybe millions of years ago. Because one of the things that we know about Mars is that in the past, it was very similar to Earth. It had some running water on it because they've been able to find some ice deposits. And it also has a very similar geology to the Earth. So what's exciting about it is knowing that, is it possible that a planet very similar to Earth could have housed life on it at some point in the past? And maybe, who knows, in the future.
I wouldn't be surprised if I was told one day that part of my DNA was from Mars, because I've always felt alien all the time. No, I'm kidding.
I think we sometimes all feel a little not of this earth at times.
Absolutely. Okay, let's get started. I'm excited.
Yeah. So on my screen right now, I have an actual rendition of what it looked like when Perseverance first touched down on Mars.
Okay.
And I'm going to run you through a walkthrough. Go ahead.
Just to be clear, this is a picture. This is not Mars, right?
No, this is just an artistic depiction, but we're going to get into some real pictures that Perseverance took for us, and you'll be able to see what it actually looks like there.
Great, let's go.
Perfect. So the first thing I want to show you is I want you to meet Perseverance. Kind of just looks like this little guy. He's actually a big robot, and I'm going to be going through some of the technologies that are in it. So on the front end, it has a Mast Cam, and what that portion does, it actually has something called Sherlock attached to it.
Okay. And
Sherlock's goal is to actually provide measurements of the type of environment that is present on Mars. It's actually going to be doing some fine scale imaging and use ultraviolet light to determine the mineralogy and also to detect some organic compounds that it decides to analyze.
I sense some very advanced machine vision algorithm going there.
It probably does. It also has some like drilling heads on it as well. So the goal is for it to actually take some samples for future humans to maybe collect, or future missions to collect back and bring onto Earth.
Wow, that'd be cool. As of right now, we don't know exactly what Mars made of, right? So this will be the first time.
I think we have some. Yeah, this is the first time we're going to be doing this level of analysis. I think we have some general idea of some of the composition of the minerals, but definitely we haven't been able to do this level of analysis on Mars before.
Okay, got you. Wow.
And I'll talk about some of the analysis that we're going to do because of all the other tools. So let's move forward. So next to Sherlock is actually another tool that's located very close to it, and it's called Pixel. And Pixel is actually a spectrometer. And what it's going to be doing is it's going to be taking high resolution images of it, and it's going to scan the very fine scale elemental composition of the Martian surface. So it's going to understand if, you know, for example, if there's iron there, maybe there's some gold particles, who knows, maybe they're going to try to find some carbon-based particles as well. So it's going to be able to do that at a very detailed analysis.
Wow.
And one of the reasons why it's on its own arm, I don't know if you noticed how it's on its own kind of robotic arm, is the goal is that it's going to do some analysis on portions of the planet, but it doesn't want to touch it before it does that in case of any contamination. So that's why it's on a robotic arm that actually extends out so it can get very close to what it's trying to see without touching it.
I see. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're going to move through the body. And the next thing I want to show you is this portion actually that's right in the center. And, you know, we would call these the eyes of the Perseverance. And what's there is actually the Mast Cam. The Mast Cam is, I don't know if you've been following the Twitter account, you've probably seen some pictures recently, a nice panoramic view.
Yes.
And it actually, yeah, it's an advanced camera system with the capability of doing panoramic images of the surface of Mars. And it also can zoom quite to a fine detail as well.
Interesting. And so, wait, I see two cameras. I see three cameras. I see the two dots at the bottom, and then I see the big black dots on top. What is the big black dot for?
That's a great question, then. I'm actually moving to that next. So the super cam is a big black dot that you were making reference to.
Okay.
And this one also does some imaging, but most importantly, it's going to be doing some chemical composition analysis and mineralogy. So this camera has the ability to detect the presence of organic compounds in rocks from a distance. So even though it looks like maybe a bigger camera, this one is actually has a very different purpose than the two other smaller ones that we saw on the Mast Cam.
Fascinating how they were able to shrink all of these technologies to fit in essentially one head.
Yeah, it's incredible. But you know what? It's actually not that small, this whole device, this whole Perseverance. Once we run through all the components at the end, I'm going to show you a picture of it at scale next to a human. And you'd be surprised of actually how large it is.
Okay.
Probably most people think it's quite small, but it's much bigger than you would think.
Interesting.
So we're going to move to the main body of Perseverance. And inside this main body, there's actually a few more technological devices. And the first one I want to talk to you about is Rimfax, which is a subsurface radar.
And what does it do?
Well, the subsurface radar, what the goal is it has a ground penetrating radar. And what it's going to do is it's going to provide centimeter scale resolution of the geological structure of the subsurface. So one of the reasons why they want to know this is on Earth, they've been able to find some very unique life forms in places that they never thought would exist. So in the ocean of Earth, there's some underwater vents that spew out sulfur and from the core of the Earth, from the lava of the Earth. And in those areas, the temperatures are extremely hot and there's a lot of chemical compounds. But surprisingly, they've been able to find very unique organic life that they didn't think would exist in those areas. So by understanding what's happening in the geology of Mars, there may be some hints as to where to dig in the future in order to find life as well, or some other organic compounds.
Interesting.
So we're going to keep going because this piece actually is probably one of the pieces that I find the most interesting. So as part of the body, there's actually another section closer to the front of Perseverance that contains the MOXIE. And the MOXIE stands for the Mars Oxygen In Situ Resource Utilization Experiment. And what this device is going to do is it's actually going to transform the atmospheric carbon dioxide that's on Mars, and it's going to try to produce oxygen. And the reason why this experiment is very important is in the future, if we decide to go on Mars, or maybe our children decide to go on Mars, we're obviously going to have to create for something for them to breathe. And we can't transport those high quantities. We rather take other things with us instead of just pure oxygen. So understanding if this device can create oxygen out of the Mars atmosphere will be very beneficial for future missions and will probably tackle one of the biggest hurdles to colonizing Mars.
Such a device would create some sort of like bubble where human would be inside, or literally purify the air in the open?
So I'm not exactly sure what they're planning on doing. I would suspect that if they create some habitable bubbles, or as you call them, maybe I would call them more like habitation pods, they would probably have this type of device attached to it in order to purify the outside air and create a breathable area inside the pod. But very likely, depending on whether it could fit, maybe it could just go on your backpack or your spacesuit, and you could just walk around converting the outside carbon dioxide into oxygen for me and you to breathe on the surface.
I like the idea of habitation pods. It's pretty much being quarantined in Mars.
Yeah, it might be more exciting to be quarantined on Mars, actually.
Absolutely.
All right, so I got one more device that's actually on the one of the main technological tools that's on the Perseverance, and I'd like to show you where it is. It's actually right in the center of the device.
Okay.
And in this case, it's called the MEDA. It's the Mars Environmental Dynamics Analyzer. Essentially, it's like a weather station. And the goal of this is it has a bunch of sensors, and it's going to provide measurements of the temperature, wind speeds, direction, pressure, the relative humidity, dust size, and shape. And one of the reasons why that's really important is if one day we want to go on Mars, we're going to have to understand how the weather works, especially if we're trying to land multiple vehicles on Mars. We want to know, like, how heavy do the winds get? What direction do they come from? Should we expect sudden gusts of air? Is there like a lot of sandstorms that may, mess with the different devices that we send there? So it's just going to give us a better understanding of what's actually happening on the surface.
Interesting. I have a question though. Like, you've shown me different parts, but I'm just waiting to see the battery pack. Like, where's the battery? How does the rover actually get some sort of energy?
That's really interesting. That's actually what I had next. So you beat me to the punch. So in the back area, it has a thermoelectric generator. And what that really means is basically what they've done is they've taken a plutonium isotope, so something that's radioactive, very similar to what we would be using in our nuclear reactors.
Okay.
And what happens is when you have something that's radioactive, it actually emits a lot of heat. So what they're doing is this portion is just emitting a lot of heat. And what they're doing with it is they're converting it into electricity, which is why it's called a thermoelectric. So thermo is for heat, electric is for creating electricity. So by having this radioisotope there, emitting all this heat, it's actually creating a power source for Perseverance. That's one of the reasons why you don't see any solar panels, is because it doesn't need solar panels. It's actually using kind of like a mini nuclear reactor to give it electricity, and it's going to last for a very long time. So it's very exciting to see how long Perseverance is going to have the opportunity to explore Mars for us.
And assuming that the battery shut down one day, what happened to the Perseverance?
I think very similar to Curiosity, who's already there, another rover that we sent, is probably going to have to sit there for a long time until we show up and maybe give it a new battery pack or potentially come and dust it off and use it for something else.
Absolutely. Interesting.
Yeah, so the last thing I wanted to show you is just an idea of the scale. So I took the model here, and you can see it on the left-hand side. It's much bigger than you would expect. You can see this gentleman, he probably is doing a COVID-free visit to Perseverance, and you get a little bit of a better idea of how big this device actually is.
Yeah, that's huge.
Much bigger than you would expect. Sometimes I think we take it for granted about how large these things are that we're sending all the way to Mars.
Oh yeah. Any inputs on the weights?
I did not look that up, but I'm sure it's available. I would think that they did their best to keep it relatively lightweight, but at the same time, when you have all these instruments, if you're going to be sending something all the way there, you want it to do the job that you're looking for it to do. So I would think that maybe they had to put some heavier components, but also obviously, the heavier things are, the harder it is to get it off the planet and all the way to Mars, those 250 million kilometers.
Assuming we were to find out that life does exist or did exist in Mars, how would that change your perspective of life and the universe as we know it right now?
That's a great question, Ned. It's interesting because I think people probably have different perspectives, but my personal perspective is, the universe is essentially infinite. When we look up in the night sky on a clear day away from the cities, you can see all the stars that are there and all the things that make up the universe, and it's essentially infinite. So I'm of the belief that there's probably life out there, or there has been life out there at certain points, and we may never come in contact with it. Mm-hmm. But seeing that Mars is a planet that's very close to Earth, and knowing that it may have had life would really solidify that. If two planets in the same solar system, very close to one another, were able to both house lives at a certain point, I think it would just really solidify the fact that there's probably life all over the universe, all over the Milky Way and other galaxies. And that, we're really not that unique. Maybe we're just, the purpose of the universe is to create life and to allow us to explore all over the place.
Wow.
And I think another thing that it would bring up is the idea of panspermia. Have you heard of panspermia before?
No. Tell me.
So panspermia is a thought that, asteroids, comets, or other interstellar objects have been bumping into one another all over the universe and our galaxy and even our solar system. Mm-hmm. And, they found Martian rocks on Earth before. So to think that maybe at some point, an asteroid or a comet may have hit Mars and taken some organic life and brought it onto Earth, it would essentially make life on Earth Martian. So maybe we are Martians after all.
that would be one of the wildest discoveries.
Oh, definitely. So the last thing I wanted to tell you before you ask me any other questions is, I just wanted to go over the mission of Perseverance one more time. And really, the goal is to demonstrate some technologies for future human expeditions. So what it's doing is it's going to test a method to produce oxygen from the Martian atmosphere. It's also going to try to identify other sources of potential water, but also all these are kind of big scale experiments. So it's going to help us improve landing techniques. It's going to help us characterize the weather, dust, and other environmental conditions. Mm-hmm. And ultimately, it's in order to understand how and why future astronauts could be living there and working on Mars.
Would you go to Mars?
So, if the question is only would I go, the answer is yes. But I would like to come back because I like my life on Earth too.
That's a good answer. The second question is, if we were able to find some alien civilization elsewhere, and you could ask them one question, what question would you ask?
Ooh, that's a tough one. If it's an ancient civilization, I would probably ask them what went wrong so that we could avoid that on Earth, because obviously, we don't want life here to end and we want it to continue. And by all signs on Mars, it looks like life does not exist anymore. So I would want to know, what can we do to avoid the same fate? So I think that would be probably my first question.
Interesting. Shahin, that's an amazing question and respond. And thank you very much for giving me a walkthrough of Perseverance. I'm sure people online will also appreciate the knowledge.
Thank you, Ned. I appreciate it too. And the people out there listening, if there's anything else you guys want to see, we'd be happy to do it for you. So just let us know, make a comment, tag us on something. And if any of the information I gave is wrong, please let me know as well and educate me. I'd love to find out more about how Perseverance work and what it's trying to do.
Absolutely. You're amazing, Shahin. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ned. Take care.
Talk soon.